Welcome, folks. Come on in. I'm Lauren Artress, and I'm the founder of Veriditas, and we've been going over to Chartres, France since 1998 with this program, and so I'm delighted that you're interested in that. And Dawn, executive director here. Yeah.
We want to highlight our two guest speakers. The first week is Brian Thomas Swimme, who is an incredible cosmologist. And the second week is Diarmuid O'Murchu. And we'll talk a little about each of them after we show the clips.
I think this is a very, very common experience in the labyrinth. It's you start off and right away you're right at the edge of the center. It's just like you're right there, and then you go on this long, complicated journey, and then you return there, and it made me feel so deeply how when even as young children we know something about who we are to be, so that it's like an acorn that just has a little flash of this giant oak tree that each of us is to become. In a way, it relates to what Lauren was saying, or maybe someone else, that it's a question of trusting our inner world, trusting it. And that the labyrinth that brought all that back. We know, like an acorn knows how to grow into be an oak tree, right? And we're very similar, I think. We know, but it really involves a lifetime of movement and journey and so forth. It reminded me of this one of my favorite phrases from history of philosophy. Some people attribute it to Kierkegaard. I don't know if it is actually Kierkegaard's, but it is. We're born with sealed orders. We're born with sealed orders. And life is about unsealing. And this relates to what I was saying yesterday about the view of soul. The discovery of soul is discovery of your role in the universe. And that also came back to me as the labyrinth was going on, because Lauren was said, behold the others on the search. And it's fascinating to watch as it's happening. And it's almost comical. This is a really confused group. But there's something about the that's really what our lives are like. There's just so much confusion, and you look around and so forth, but there's an underlying order that we can learn to trust. That would be a way of talking about faith. Just this, there's an underlying order. Every move we made, every time there was a 180-degree change, that was some decision that we made at a certain point to the best of our abilities, and it is leading where we have to go. That's the kind of underlying order that is symbolized in the labyrinth. That we can actually learn to trust the universe to carry us forward into our fulfillment as humans. Mm-hmm. And the larger fulfillment of humanity.
Great, thanks, Lars. We're showing these just so you get to know Brian. Brian right now is on kind of a sabbatical up in the Northwest, writing and finishing another book. So we decided to show these clips, but I hope the clips show the quality of conversation that we have there, and that really our time together is exploratory. It's about learning. It's about really taking in a bigger environment as well. It's about meeting other people who are similar in light of thinking, but also different. And so it's really is indeed sharing, learning, opening to other worlds. So Diarmuid is the second one. And I've been reading his book, Reclaiming Spirituality, and kind of, wow, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You know, and I found, well, call him and find out. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been working with him now. This is his second year, I believe, with us. And so let's play this clip just to give you a sense of who he is.
There's a little-known French philosopher called Gaston Saint-Pierre. In his one and only book, which is on the metamorphic technique that he wrote about 30 or 40 years ago, he's dead I think he died in 2013. He had a wonderful phrase, which I've always found very helpful to kind of hold on to. And maybe sometimes it's the one phrase that has given me a lot of hope. And this is the phrase: when we change the level of our awareness, we start attracting a different reality. Mm-hmm. When we change the level of our awareness, we start attracting a different reality. In other words, we don't have to do all the doing. We need to focus in on consciousness. When we change the level of our awareness, we start attracting a different reality. It's a more poetic version of an old scholastic dictum that I met many years ago as a young seminarian. Action follows thought. But I would put it more accurately: action follows perception. But I think his version of it is more poetic, it's more mystical, and it's more true. When we change the level of our awareness, we start attracting a different reality. And if enough of us do that, then hopefully we'll begin to create the tipping point of that critical consciousness, which can hopefully make a difference.
Thanks, Lars. I like that as well, besides you're hearing Diarmuid's thinking, but it also, Lars, thanks to you, we included the light show. And the light show is something that happens every night. There's 23 different places around the city, but the main one is on the cathedral, and you saw just a bit of that. I love that, with the dandelions kind of floating off as thought. And
it's amazing how the light show reflects our program, because the first light show that you see actually begins with the Big Bang and the cosmos and sacred geometry, and you get a sense of like Brian's week. And then there's another program that really kind of ends up reflecting some of Diarmuid's, evolutionary spirituality. So it just shows you that, when you go there, you're not just listening to a speaker, you're engaging in conversations, you're engaging with the place, the history, the energy, the spirit. It's all about relationships. And even the presenters are in relationship, to the group. They're in dialogue with Lauren. And, it's really, the program unfolds over the course of the week. And, it's not scripted, somebody up there just reading off their notes. It's something that really emerges from the shared journey. Well, Lauren, I was wondering if you might say a little bit about labyrinth cosmology for people that are not used to the term or familiar with Brian's work.
Yeah. It's interesting because Brian and Diarmuid, in my mind, go together. And so I'm beginning my Substack on kind of evolutionary spirituality. Where are we going? What forms, what new forms are coming through? A lot of us are kind of stepping away from churches, unless they have labyrinths and we're kind of a labyrinth congregation or something. But the whole sense that we're broadening, and I think this is happening because of climate change, because of the chaos on planet Earth, we're broadening our view, just like Diarmuid's saying, you take in, if you change your perception, you attract different things. And so Brian really loves the labyrinth because for him and for many people, and including myself, it as Keith Critchlow said, it has the sacred measurements. There's something in walking it that allows you to open to really a cosmic view. And if those of you who might have Walking a Sacred Path, there's a map in there by Cicero, which is what, 11th century, who maps out the different planets on the labyrinth. So just to suggest that this was partly in the cathedrals, we actually don't know why. We've lost those roots, but it feels to me like this is a coming home, that it's a cosmic map. And it allows us self-reflection, it allows us to open, it allows us to be able to receive other ways of knowing. And those of you who see the familiar faces, those of you who walk labyrinths have a feel for this, I think. But so Brian really he's a kind of a gentle giant. His work will suggest one book, if you're really at the beginning, The Universe is a Green Dragon, is not a children's book, but it really is an introductory book. And then we're suggesting on the reading list, Cosmogenesis, I have that here, this is his experiences. So it's not a memoir quite, but he chose 11 times in his life that we would now call pivot points, and of things that changed for him to find his sealed orders. And his sealed orders clearly is to help people understand, like, look, folks, we're all in this together, interrelatedness, connectedness, systems theory, all of this is coming together now in the last probably 40 years. This is new information, folks. We're getting it from the Webb telescope as well as the Hubble, and now I understand there's a new telescope out last week, Steve Martin was saying. So I hope that explains some of that. But and again, this is the conversation. This is the conversation that we'll have in Chart.
And then Diarmuid is about evolutionary spirituality and an ecological kind of context. Do you want to share a little bit about his approach?
Very much. And he's written about 16 books. And there's a number, you could go on Amazon and look at all of them. We're suggesting evolutionary spirituality, or evolutionary faith, excuse me. He also has many others called Incarnation. One, I think, is a culmination of his work. It's called The Transformation of Desire. Understand, he's a Roman Catholic priest, but he's also a social scientist. And really, he's a social scientist before he's a priest. And so the transformation of desire is really a culmination of all his thinking and desire is allurement, in Brian's terms, allurement. What we long to do, it longs for us as well. That's that famous quote from Rumi, right? What you seek seeks you, is seeking you. You're showing a book there.
Yeah,
hold it
there we
right
go.
in front of your face. Yeah, that's an early book.
One of his early books, Diarmuid, but I really liked it, Reclaiming Spirituality.
Yeah, and he's the one who puts in context that, spirituality is 70,000 years of age. When we discovered graves that people were burying people with sacred, not trinkets, but you know what I mean, sacred things that they valued in their life, or of a goddess or of a deity, 70,000 years of age, whereas our religions are 2,500 years of age. And so he's expanding. What does it mean to have an evolution and understand evolution? And what does that mean about our faith and our unfolding and finding our sealed orders, which really applies to both. And Dawn, you have a universe story there? All right.
It's a
Universe.
really good one of Brian's, to get some of the basics about the cosmos together, and the universe story and how it parallels human development
Yeah.
is.
So, as I mentioned, we've been doing this program since 1998. I first started there with Robert Ferre, and we were actually before 1998, we were there kind of renting the cathedral out and being there, and then getting on a tour bus and leaving. And it was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want tour buses at all. Let's be on site. And so there's a wonderful retreat center there. And also, Lars, I think, why don't you come on in and introduce people to Chartres through the PowerPoint you made?
All right, here we go. So this is Glimpses of Chartres. And one of the great things about Chartres is you arrive to this site of pilgrimage and it appears on the horizon, whether you're coming by car or train or by foot from Paris. The cathedral itself is situated on top of a sacred hill, and it rises above the city and the trees, and it's incredible to kind of see it emerge as you come closer on your own pilgrimage, just like people have been doing for 1,000 years. So it's actually part of the Camino de Santiago network. So there's many different trails, but one of them actually goes from Paris through Chartres Cathedral and then down to Santiago de Compostela. And so when we go to Chartres, we act and treat it as a pilgrimage from the day that you lock your front door and set out on your journey. It has begun. So Richard Niebuhr says, pilgrims are people in motion, moving through territories not their own, seeking something we might call completion, or perhaps the word clarity will do just as well, a goal to which only the Spirit's compass points the way. So there may be many things drawing you to Chartres. It could be something specific or it could be something intangible. But just like a labyrinth walk, things appear along the way, and it's really not about the destination, it's about the journey. And there's actually been 4 or 5 cathedrals built on that hilltop, and each year pilgrims come in all different types and groups and races and faiths, and they come through the fields that surround the cathedral. And the city itself is located to the southwest of Paris, maybe an hour and a half by car, or maybe 45 minutes to the train, and then an hour train ride down, and or it's a 3-day walk. And this here you can see the old city that was once surrounded by a wall, and is there next to the river Loire. So you can see the cathedral itself there in the center of the old town, and it's just an incredible experience to be in this medieval village. The cathedral itself was constructed in the form we know today in 1194 to 1220 after a fire destroyed the cathedral that was there before. And it was really an incredible moment in time where the Gothic architecture came together. And Robert Ferre said it's like, all the different instruments had been tuned, but when Chartres Cathedral was built, it was like the orchestra played for the very first time. And it created this incredible cathedral with beautiful windows and space. And here's a vision of it from one of the local parks looking across. So definitely a sense of the sacred. And Philip Ball calls it a universe in stone, which I really like. It's actually, walking into the kind of a heaven on earth. And the river itself, is a healing kind of sacred element, and there's actually a well that is in the cathedral that was part of the original sacred site. So the water flows around the city, through the city, and then also even under the cathedral itself. And they say that the distance from the crypt down to the well water is the same as the distance from the crypt up to the floor of the nave where the labyrinth is. So and really, although the cathedral itself has been remodeled and renovated through the centuries, in some ways you're stepping into the past and following in the footsteps of thousands of people who have been to Chartres, and some things have changed and some things remain remarkably the same. So they have actually closed most of the old city now to cars, so it's mostly a walking city around the cathedral itself. And one of the things that Chartres is most well known for is its stained glass collection. And these medieval windows were saved and thankfully guarded during the World Wars, and they were actually taken out and removed and hidden in caves and in the crypt, and then reinstalled, and then also recently cleaned, and now are bright and luminescent, and just an incredible collection of medieval stained glass. And one of the most famous actually survived from the previous cathedral. So the Notre Dame de Belvedere, Our Lady of the Beautiful Glass, is actually a window that survived the fire and destruction of the cathedral before it. And it has this special Chartres blue that cannot be recreated. We can't figure out the methods or technique to actually create this luminescent blue that's seen in the window. Another feature is the Our Lady of the Pillar, which is Mary on a pillar, and this statue is another sacred relic that is found in the cathedral. So people visit the Mary window, they visit Our Lady of the Pillar, and also Mary's veil, which is believed to be a holy relic that comes from either the birth or the crucifixion of Christ. And so there's a piece of the veil that was actually the holy relic that led to the many of the donations that gave rise to the rebuilding of the cathedral, because the veil also was saved in the fire, and the three priests took the veil and went down into the crypt. And for 3 days, people thought that the veil had been lost and burned in the fire, but in the end, it was saved. And when they emerged from the cathedral, that miracle led to many people donating the money to rebuild. In the crypt itself, there's also a wooden Dark Madonna that was a recreation of one that was destroyed during the French Revolution, but it's a beautiful statue of Mary with an oak crown. And when we go to Chartres, we are often able to take a tour through the crypt to visit Mary down there. Here is the Chartres Labyrinth, which of course is the reason that most of us come, but it's also a representation of Mary as well, with the rosette in the center, and the number of stones that mark the pathway from the entrance to the center is the same days as gestation. So could be a representation of Mary with Jesus through her birth. So the cathedral and the labyrinth has survived, and it's one of the few labyrinths that has maintained its form in its original state. So here's an early lithograph showing people walking the labyrinth. So we don't really know how it was used or why it was created in the original plan or meaning of the labyrinth, but it is shown to be a walking prayer, path of prayer, and perhaps a representation of pilgrimage. So But unfortunately, it's covered by chairs 6 out of 7 days a week. So it's only open to the public on Fridays. But we host a special evening walk on Thursday evenings with candlelight. So you'll have an opportunity to walk it through a ritual. And then also, if you take the time either Friday before or on the last day of our pilgrimage, you can walk it with the public. So. And Chartres is often evolving. Like this is the treasury, which is just reopened, and it's got some modern stained glass windows, which are just incredibly luminescent, and some of the archives and statues that have been preserved from the original restorations. And in the evenings, there's a special light show that illuminates the outside of the cathedral. And because we're in the fall, you don't have to stay up as late to see this incredible light show. Which, really kind of reawakens our awe of arriving in this sacred place. So here you can see the St. Eve's Center.
And that's where our programs are held. Typically, the morning is a seminar and followed by small groups, reflection groups. And then you have time off for a lunch out in the Chartres village. And then in the afternoon, there's tours that we offer of the cathedral and the crypt. So then one afternoon, there's an orientation to the labyrinth and the labyrinth walk and ritual that we do on Thursday evening. We start with an opening reception and we end with a reception and a dinner.
And so if you're staying at St. Eve's, this is what the sign you want to look for. And it literally is if you walk by the cathedral on the right side, you make a turn, this is what you're seeing. So it's about a minute and a half walk from, it literally is in the shadow of the cathedral. So this is the building there. And there's other choices, and Dawn will explain more about that. Whoops, why that won't stay, I'm not sure. So this is the breakfast room and our workshop rooms as well. It's actually a redone, remodeled, renovated, probably 14th century monastery where the priests would have stayed. It's a beautiful building. It's really amazing. This is the outdoor labyrinth. We're not sure this is going to be open. There's been some erosion in the back. It seems like it's possible. This was made in 2011 with Jeff Sayward. We did a work week there called Creating a Chartres Labyrinth in Chartres. And this Chartres is often a place of pilgrimage, and this is a group leaving from having been in Chartres. They're on the north side of the cathedral. And I just love this picture because of these two women just connecting like old friends. They're seeing each other. And that's often a result of pilgrimage. People create new friendships. They come with a friend perhaps and renew a relationship. Some people bring their adult daughters. Some people bring their grandmothers. It's very interesting to see how that all works. And then, so Vivian Howe, her quote, "Unlike mere travel, a pilgrimage is a journey into the landscape of the soul." And as Lars mentioned, that begins, really, I think that begins when you begin to sign up for this. So that gives you a little bit of feel for Chartres. Seeing these slides, I miss it. Did you, Lars and Dawn, did you have that reaction? It's like, oh. So we go twice a year. We have different programs each time. And as Dawn was explaining the schedule, we begin late Monday afternoon. So thinking about jet lag, we encourage people to leave Friday possibly, maybe spend a day or two in Paris. Whatever works for you. And we also encourage people, we have a closing night dinner, and Dawn, I think you mentioned this. on Friday night, and so definitely to stay over till Saturday. And if you're lucky and can do it, stay over till Sunday because it gives you more time, just more time to integrate all this. And that's important. If you cannot rush home, great. That can be really helpful. So Dawn, you want to come on back in here and
Yeah, I can talk a little about most of our housing um, it is at the St. Eves, but there are some people that choose to do an Airbnb. If you go that direction, we just ask that you find something that is very close to the cathedral. Because Chartres is larger than this small village on the hill, and you wouldn't want to be where you'd need a car to drive in. So it needs to be walkable. But we do provide you with some possibilities. There are a number of hotels in the area that are easily walkable. If you prefer more amenities, the St. Yves has is very monastic-like, and so you have a bed in the room, and you have a bathroom in the room, but you cannot turn around in the shower. It is like a mobile home or a boat bathroom. So if you prefer something a little more luxurious, we can certainly recommend that which is walkable to where we meet regularly. There are lots of good places to eat in Chartres. It takes perhaps a little longer. The takeout and fast food movement hasn't hit Chartres, thank goodness, too much. There is a McDonald's, but other than that, there's a street that has all kinds of different restaurants where you can eat. The hotel cost, we charge $115 a night for a single room, plus it includes the bed tax and breakfast in that. But like Lars has a favorite Airbnb where he stays that's close and walkable right on the river, and it's no more expensive than the hotellerie. So you'd want to save somewhere around $600 to $700 for your housing on top of the tuition cost to which covers your tours, your opening reception, your dinner, the seminars, small groups, etc.
and our labyrinth evening, our evening in the cathedral.
And our labyrinth walk, which is really the high point of being there, is taking that labyrinth walk. We find that people enjoy meeting each other and often do some bonding with other participants. But you can also choose to be solitary as well. So it's what you need from pilgrimage. And that's something to contemplate before you come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things I love about staying at the St. Eves is having breakfast with other participants and just, meeting people at the table and having an opportunity to have some social time to start the day. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends on what you want. I mean, an Airbnb, then you're buying your groceries, There's grocery stores nearby. That's not a big deal, but it also puts the more on you than getting up and having a breakfast in the morning with participants or
However, Lauren, we've had people discover they can stay at the Airbnb but join everyone for breakfast. You just
There's a combo.
pay
There's a
at the
combo.
front desk for the breakfast
Uh,
ahead of time, and they give you a little coupon. So
Oh,
you can
That's
have the best of both worlds if you
that's
like.
great. Yeah, and then you're right there for when we begin at 9 o'clock in the classroom there. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Dawn, have we mentioned the small groups? I'm not sure.
Just briefly, small reflection groups is how I was referring to them. They certainly are not therapy groups, but they are groups where you can process some of what you're experiencing in Chartres and also talk about what you've brought to Chartres. A lot of people come to Chartres who are in transition. And it could be retirement, or it could be losing someone in your family who was close to you. There are a variety of transitions that people come on pilgrimage to honor that and figure out the meaning of the next part of their lives. Those sealed orders coming to be a little more visible.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And
good.
we certainly, if you sign up, we'll be doing another webinar in August to help prepare you for how to get from Charles de Gaulle Airport to Chartres. Other suggestions about, we'll go over a little more about the housing and logistics in general. It's a funny thing, but if you need a hair dryer, the Maison Saint Yves doesn't have them. So you're gonna want to pack a little travel hair dryer. Things like that we'll
Things like that,
go
for
over.
sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And usually where people are concerned, that when one is going to a country where you don't speak the language. Well, folks, especially in Paris and the airport, totally, people speak English. And so we do suggest if you want to, download Google Translate. Now there's more and more increases, even earbuds. I haven't tried that yet. I'm waiting for them to be a little more advanced that translate instantly. But that's really not in any way a problem. We do suggest if you're, for instance, when we're meeting, when the other one, when people have signed up and we're doing all the logistics, just write the name of the hotel out on a card and you hand it to the taxi or Uber driver or whatever. So things are much more simple than they seem like, oh, can I do this? And I don't want to go to a strange country and all of those kind of things. They actually evaporate along the journey. So.
We
And
can also help you make contact with other participants. If you are in the airport at the same time, you're going to want to share transportation down to Chartres together. Things like that make a nice difference. It works for some people and doesn't work for others, but it's something we can put you in contact with other participants. So we really do hope you will join us for one of these weeks or both of these weeks. In the weekend in between, there is a facilitator training, a labyrinth facilitator training. Some of you are already labyrinth facilitators, but if you're not and you're attracted to wanting to get more involved with the labyrinth and with Veriditas, we'd encourage you to sign up for the 2-day facilitator training. It's after Brian Swimme, but before Diarmuid. It's those 2 Saturday and Sunday in between.
And we have a meeting Mary this time, which we don't always have.
We do have a meeting Mary. Thanks for remembering that. And meeting Mary is 2 days of focus on the sacred feminine and on Mary in Chartres. It does involve a labyrinth walk in the cathedral as well. So the facilitator training does not.
Mhm.
You will not walk the labyrinth during facilitator training unless you come on a Friday during public time.
And Meeting Mary is led by Judith Tripp. And I see one of our participants here, one of the folks just did a shout out. You did, Joanne. Thank you. So you've been there, Joanne. You've experienced that. Come on in. I know you're.
Yeah, I have. And Judith is wonderful. That is an amazing workshop. When I came for facilitator training 3 years ago, we did Meeting Mary first with my adult daughter. And it was just a wonderful, beautiful workshop. So if you are going to be around for Meeting Mary, I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's a weekend before, and then you can have the weekend off and then go into the program. So I knew, look familiar, there's a lot of familiar. I see April here. I see a lot of familiar faces. Maxine, Marilyn, yeah. So a lot of familiar faces. So, and, a lot of times people think about coming to Chartres, but, we're encouraging people, hey, folks, it's time. And if you're feeling that, we really want to encourage you. We truly do.
So, Lauren, I'm thinking we open for questions now.
Please, yes. We've done a lot of information sharing.
Yeah.
So, okay. Here's Joanne. Might there be a daily list of topics available for each of the classes? There probably not a daily list. But on the seminar on Tuesday, you'd know what we're going to be doing on Wednesday. So there would be that sense of it. But the whole is a conversation. And again, it can go where the group goes. Now, that doesn't mean we're leaderless. That does not mean that we're entertaining anything that comes in, but that the conversation is organic as it emerges from the group. So it's not that highly organized, Joanne. For a good reason, though. I mean, on my job as host and also in conversation is to keep it on track. So, I want to often let you know that I'm conscious of some things can go off track and we don't go off track.
I think one of the special things about this fall is that these are people that are returning to Chartres. So the presenters are comfortable in this environment. They actually, clearly enjoy it because they're returning.
They want
they have established a relationship with Lauren, which I think is really exciting and dynamic. And so, these are like tried and true presenters. These are people that like to be there. These are people that like the conversation and the energy of our group. And, they're happy to be returning. And I think that really kind of, you're not taking a risk by going to be with Brian or Diarmuid, on this week.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I'm planning on coming just for the Labyrinth facilitator training. And I'm curious, when you said that you don't walk the Labyrinth as part of that, do you mean just like the group walk, or is the Labyrinth part of the training? The training's on Saturday and Sunday, right? Mm-hmm.
And the Labyrinth is only open on Fridays.
Okay.
So arrive there early And then you can walk it on Friday, probably after 10:30 a.m. But you need to know that. And this is especially true since the labyrinth that we showed you is in back has been closed. So there's not an actual walk on the labyrinth during that training. Yeah.
So it's more just in the classroom and talking about things and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kim, I would encourage you to think about coming, either meeting Mary, possibly. I know there's a week in between there, because the training in that setting, it all comes together through the experience of the week as well. So something to consider. I'd encourage you. So,
Thank
okay.
you.
Uh-huh. So, let's see. Margaret Reed has her hand up, and then we'll go to Kelly and Williams. But Margaret, you're there first, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to say that an extraordinary part of the experience of being there was staying in the monastery. And I mean, when you look out your window and there it is, I can't even describe what it was like. And it would be simplistic to say it was like living in a postcard, but it was, I don't know. It was extraordinary. It really added to, I mean, you lived it it was wherever you looked. It was a small room and the window was big, it was what you looked out. It was amazing.
Now I know why you look familiar. But yeah, I agree. A lot of people long for simplicity, efficiency, and even though Dawn makes fun of the bathroom, it's rare that you would have a toilet, a shower, and all that complete there. And a lot of people find relief of just the simplicity of it. Kelly, come on in.
Hi, thanks for this. I registered back in March, so I look forward to being there. But I hadn't really heard anything other than I have my receipt, so I didn't know if I should be hearing something. And then I also did request to stay at the monastery, but I hadn't heard anything about that either. So I had emailed Annika, but haven't heard back. So I'm just kind of like, am I just waiting, or should I have heard something by now?
Kelly, I would suggest you email Annika again and ask her. We may have we sold out very early for the rooms Diarmuid's week because we had a group come along in early in the year, January, and book almost all of the block. So, but we'll help you find something else if it's full. So email her again.
Okay,
And
great.
I
program,
will also
Kelly?
check with her.
Yeah, that'd be Kelly, what program did you sign up for?
The Diarmuid.
Okay.
So maybe it is sold out.
Okay, great. Okay. So yeah, Dawn, you'll check with Annika and we'll get that connected. Okay. Yeah.
And Kelly, we will be doing, as I said, a webinar in August who's for the
for people who are signed up.
Who've signed up for any of the programs. So that would be for you too, Kim.
Yeah. I see April trying to come in here. Come on in, April.
I was just going to say, a possible option is to try and book directly with
Yes.
the hotellery, because I've done that, because people cancel. And because I've been told a couple of times that I wanted to be there, that it was full. And I just say, I can't remember whether I get on a waiting list or whether I just keep bugging them. But once a week I say, is there anything coming up? And I have at least twice got in that way.
Okay, good. And Hotel Maria St. Eve's, and maybe to put that in the chat too, Lars.
What a good suggestion. Also, you can try booking.com, because what happens is they give some of their rooms to booking.com. They keep some for themselves. They allow us to have a block. It's kind of a crazy system. You have to be persistent. So, Kelly, try the booking.com as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is true about cancellations and things opening up. Prices also change a lot. So often when I go on pilgrimage, I book something right away. And then two months later, I check back and see how things may become available or maybe get cheaper. And then you can, if your reservation is not fully refundable, then you can cancel one and book something else. And so it's very dynamic. Ever since the pandemic, people changed their rooms all the time. And so things are constantly in flux.
Yeah. Chartres Cathedral really is an active sacred site.
It absolutely is.
And I see heads nodding here, April and Joanne, and it really is. And how do you define that? To me, the simple way of saying your prayers are answered. That just simply that. Now, it's about, yes, there's tourists and all sorts of things going on. There's an amazing amount of history there, and I'll continue to bring that in. Our conversation covers that from time to time, touches on it. But the whole sense that, especially our evening in the cathedral, it really can be a very profound experience and really move your life along, frankly, letting go of things, taking steps into the future. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. So folks, thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your interest. I'm delighted to see some familiar and wonderful faces here. So thank you. And if you have any other questions, email Dawn? You could be Dawn or myself.
You can email Dawn at veriditas.org and I'll make sure your question gets answered. And Marianne, I did get your email and I sent it to Laura, the teacher of the class. And it's, and so it's good to complete the loop. And I apologize that it took a little time.
Okay. All right.
I checked the schedule and the Labyrinth on Fridays is open from, I just lost it. Where'd it go? From 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
4:30. Okay.
Except during funerals or special events. So.
Which means it's closed. It's not open during funerals and special events. So that's
typically 10:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
And then I would arrive by 4, so you have the half hour because they'll close it at 4:30. So you'd want to arrive at least at 4 o'clock to walk for half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, thank you so much for your time and effort, and think about it. And if you're kind of thinking, well, who would want to join me on this? Who would want to kind of come along with me on this pilgrimage? So that's another question you might want to answer for yourself. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Good to see you, April.
Be well.
Yeah, take care.
Hope to see you in Chartres.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.